Folks, buckle your seatbelts. This is a very special edition of Boy Green Daily. It's going to be, quite frankly, a special presentation. We'll explain more. A historic Boy Green Daily here, a day before the Jets preseason game, right now.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Let's go!
Put your seatbelts on. Get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcasts. Again, a special shout-out to those audio-only listeners and those that rewatch this show at a different point. This is a special show, and this special show would not be possible without this man I'm about to bring on the show, and it was designed as a one-off. Bob was supposed to join the show to promote his well-placed book here, right here in shot on camera, and we're going to talk about that, and then I assumed we were going to go on our separate ways, but you people wanted Bob to continue to come on, and Bob has continued to come on, and this episode we're about to do today is one that we have talked about the potential of doing, and it has finally arrived. So without further ado, let's bring in our resident historian and the author of that book right there, Beyond Broadway Joe, the team that changed football, baby. Let's bring him in. Bob Lederer joins us here on the show. What's up, Bob? Yeah, there you go. Let's get a good shot of that.
About the book, let's talk about Green Bay.
Okay. Hey, yeah, there you go. Preseason. Yeah, starters are playing. It's going to be some good action.
2.5-point favorite.
Ooh, okay. I didn't see the Vegas line. I see where your mind's at, Bob. I can't wait for that.
Paul, can you explain to me how the I'm not a betting guy, obviously.
Sure.
Can you explain to me how we're a 2.5-point favorite? Based on what?
Well, I would say that the Jets are guaranteed to play their starters, and Green Bay has been more wishy-washy. I've talked to some people out in Green Bay, and, it seems like, unless I've missed it, that the cards are being sort of kept close to the vest there. I was trying to see if they made any announcement. I didn't see anything last night, but I could have missed it since then. So, by the way, a big shout-out here. John says, I bought the book, Bob, so more of the viewers and listeners are buying the book, so terrific. Thank you, John, a member of the Boy Green Coffee Club.
Thank you very much, John.
Yeah.
So let me add, one of the things about Green Bay and maybe not playing or not telling everybody what they're going to do. They're playing at home, and the Green Bay Packer fans take football very seriously, almost as seriously as Jet fans do. And you can imagine if the Jets played their starters and Green Bay played at second and third string, and the Jets kept going up and down the field and sacking the quarterback on every third play, the fans there would lose their minds. So I first of all, I don't know how long Fields and the offense is going to play, and the defense.
We don't either. Right.
Yeah. And you don't want them to play a long time in a preseason game.
Probably not. I would imagine if I'm betting, I'm not a betting man, but if I were, 2 series, maybe 3. If you have one series where they get the ball, it's a touchback, they get at the 30-yard line, and Justin Fields marches them right down the field, 70 yards, and scores a touchdown, that's the last you've seen of Justin Fields. He's getting out. But again, depending on what happens, maybe that changes. But that would be my expectation. We'll get more into that. Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing is I think you're going to see the start of the run-heavy offense.
Yes.
That will put less pressure on Fields.
Sure.
And it'll put the Jets' offensive line and the running backs to test.
That is for certain. And we'll have a full game day preview of that tomorrow. So guys, get ready for that. But for this episode, it will be a very special presentation. And I mean it as a presentation, and I want to make sure I'm explaining this properly, Bob, that, for your book that we highlighted and several people have purchased, which we're very happy for. Thank you very much. You did how many interviews, Bob?
Oh my good! How many good? I probably, I could show you up on the screen the whole list of everybody I talked to.
So a lot of people,
but I would say probably 75 to 100.
Okay, that's what I figured. It was a big number, and let me make sure that this is clear. that these interviews that you've done, they have never reached the public airwaves. They've all been as part of your personal private stash that you used for the book. They haven't made it its way public, correct?
Yeah, I never took shorthand. I've been a business writer and reporter for 45 years. And so when I did this, I decided, because I wanted to be absolutely accurate with what the players and the coaches and everybody else I talked to was telling me. And I also promised them, as I've indicated before, that they would see their chapter, because everybody has their own chapter in the book.
Right.
And to be sure, I wasn't going to have to make a ton of corrections doing that. I taped every conversation. You can call me the mini Bob Woodward, because he does that with every book that he does. So I was able to actually get the exact words that they used. And I had almost no corrections that I had to make with any of the chapters that I wrote as a result, because I accurately said exactly what they had told me. And so, no, nobody has heard these tapes, not even anyone in my family, because they weren't interested. And I listened to the Matt Snell interview that we're going to really dote on today.
Yes.
For the first time in 5 years.
Wow.
And there were parts of it that surprised me, some of which you're going to hear today.
Yes, and we'll get right into that. Before we do, I appreciate it. J-Boy sending in a 5-pack of memberships here on the show. Thank you for supporting.
Thank you, Jay.
I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
5 new members to the Boy Green Coffee Club. That is Carl Duncan, Cactus Johnny, Richard Ajudo, Carl DuBois, and Caden P8. Thank you guys so much. And if you guys send memberships and everything during the show, I will save them for the end, because I want us to be able to move forward throughout our presentation today, because you're going to hear a lot from Matt Snell. Again, as you just heard from our guy here, Bob, that these are never before heard footage that we're going to sort of walk you through. It'll be a story, and you'll understand as we're going through it. So, J-Boy, we just accounted for your memberships, and any other memberships that are gifted during the show, I will count for, but we'll save them for the end for a big party. We'll answer all of them and all of those salutes. So, without further ado, Bob, walk us through this here with Matt Snell, because there's a lot to unpack here with Matt, and we will be providing a ton of you guys will see something on the screen, but audio coverage of your one-on-one interview with Matt Snell in the writings and the coverings, obviously, in the setup of your book.
Okay. Matt Snell, as most everybody may have recalled, wasn't talking to anybody. The New York Post, the Daily News, even the New York Times, every New York newspaper for years leading up to 2018 sent reporters out to Matt Snell every year saying, "Why are you angry with the Jets?" And he wouldn't even come to the door. Or if he did come to the door, he quickly just closed the door. He just was in no mood to talk to them. Now, what surprised me, and we're going to really give you the ultimate tease here, because we have 5 clips for you, and the 5th clip will be Matt explaining in his own words why he has problems with the Jets. But what really surprised me is I heard this again for the first time in 5 years. You're not going to hear a tinge of anger in Matt's voice. It's just he's very resolute about the fact that he thinks the Jets did him wrong. And as a result, and he explains, circumstances of things that happened. He just didn't feel there was any need for it. And the Jets, if you read between the lines, the Jets really have never reached out to him, at least at that point, to say, "Matt, we want you in the family." So anyway, we'll save that to the very end. But you want to go to the first? Want to go to the first clip?
Yes, here we go.
Let's
go to this.
In the first clip,
yeah,
and I had forgotten this, and I think it's in the book, but not in any depth. Matt Snell was probably the best fullback in New York Jets history. Yeah. And yet he was not drafted by the Jets as a running back. Go ahead, Paul.
Which was a short side.
Yeah.
And as I said, I was a stand-up defensive end, which was really a linebacker. So I played both ways. And I said, they just drafted me as a linebacker.
But you wanted to be a running back.
No. I love defense. I wanted to be a defensive player.
Okay.
But what happened was I got an invitation to what was then called the Southwest their fullback, a kid called Thunder Thornton from Nebraska.
Yeah.
Never made it. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he changed his mind. I don't know if some agent got. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
You know, he never showed up. So they had the first time we were going to play for professional coaches. Al Davis and his coaches were the coaches for the All-Star, the National All-Stars. And what it really turned out it was the Southwest Challenge Bowl in Corpus Christi, Texas, which pitted the National All-Stars against the Texas All-Stars.
Okay. All right.
Al Davis and his coaching staff coached the National All-Stars. Under Thornton, it got to be Friday before the game, which was on, got to be Thursday, which is the game was on Saturday.
Yep.
Under Thornton never showed up. So Al Davis came to me and said, look, something happened. I don't remember what he told me happened under Thornton. But he said, look, we need somebody to play fullback. He said, there's not much to it. He said, you'll be mostly, leading the running back, because they had brought in other running backs, He said, you'll be running, leading the other, blocking for the other running back.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Because you're the only one that has any experience. He said, whatever little experience you had at college is more than all the rest of my guys have. So I said, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So, now this was Thursday. The game comes around on Saturday. We start running the ball against the Texas All-Stars, and I ended up scoring 5 touchdowns, gaining 180-something yards. And Al Davis called up Weave and wanted to trade for me. He was a running back.
Really?
I don't know. It's just one of those fluke games. That everything I did turned out right.
Wow.
So that's how I ended up being. So George Sauer's father actually came to the game down in Texas.
Yeah.
But defensive playbook for me. After what happened, I never saw a defensive playbook again. George called Weave up and said, you don't put this guy at running back, you got to be crazy.
And that seems like the right temperament here, Bob. Former linebacker in a fullback body doing that for the New York Jets. Unbelievable.
And in his college days, which I kind of cut off at the beginning, he talked about playing defensive end, which was like an outside linebacker. Mm-hmm. And everybody played two ways in college football in those days. In fact, there was a rule that you had to play two ways.
Oh, I did not know that. Wow.
Oh yeah. It slowly evolved and changed around the time that Pete Lamons 2 years later left college and became a pro. One other point, George Sauer that he makes reference there was George Sauer Sr., the Jet wide receiver's father. He was the pro personnel director for the New York Jets and the only holdover from the Titans regime.
Wow. From the New York Titans, of course, to New York Jets, New York Titans.
And the reason was, I think they say that he had a contract that was still in force, and we didn't want to fire him and spend the money. So he kept him, but he stayed with the organization, through their Super Bowl years.
And I would just say, with that just being the first clip, it's just so crazy to finally, or just rarely hear Matt Snell's voice. I just have not heard Matt Snell's voice a lot, obviously, with everything that's been going on. So that's
the other thing that struck me that I had really forgotten, he and I really had built quite a relationship. I mean, he was helping me to talk to some of the other Jet players who were a little bit hesitant, to get on the line with me. Wow. Hey, let me help you out. I'll call him. I'll tell him that to talk to you and that sort of thing. And hey, when are you coming to New York, Bob, so I can meet you? So, I mean, we really built something, and I missed that because after this was all done, after the 50th anniversary celebration had come and become part of the past, Matt became kind of, a recluse, with everybody again, including me. I will leave him a message a couple of times a year and say, hey, just checking in to see how you're doing. I don't get much of a response, but that's okay. As far as I was concerned, he's a cool guy.
Yeah. So if you're comfortable sharing, when do you think is the last time you had a conversation with Matt?
It would have been in the fall of 2018 because I was still trying to convince him to come to the 50th anniversary celebration.
Right.
I talked to him the week before, and I said, "Is there any chance?" And he said, "No, I'm just not interested. It doesn't matter to me." And the Saturday before the Sunday ceremony, I talked to a Jet vice president at the hotel, and he's telling me, "Oh, I got Matt's uniform in the car just in case he shows up tomorrow." And I said, "He's not showing up tomorrow. I've told you this before. There was a way I thought to do it, and you chose not to try to, take that way. I'm not saying it would have necessarily worked, but I knew that what you described to me as what you were going to do was going to fall flat, with Matt Snell."
And for those who don't know, he has skipped a lot of stuff. As I was just looking Matt Snell stuff up last night, his Ring of Honor, into the Jets Ring of Honor, where they're team Hall of Fame, essentially. He skipped that too when he was inducted, quote unquote. He did not attend that.
He thinks he said this on the tape, which you won't hear today, but he says he thinks the Ring of Honor, as far as he's concerned, is a joke.
Oh, well,
because
yeah.
And you'll hear this at the very end of
the
final clip. Well, let's wait. You'll hear it.
Okay, we'll tease it later. Okay, well, where do you want to go next here, Bob?
Okay, the next one is the one that I have labeled.
Okay.
What Matt thought of the guarantee. Now, what we're talking about here is everybody remembers that Joe Namath predicted on the Thursday night before Super Bowl III that the Jets were going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And it caused, quite a hubbub among the Jet players the next day when it showed up in the Miami Herald.
I imagine so.
The only newspaper that was on hand to hear him say it. And
wow,
there was a chapter in the book. If you've bought the book, you've seen it.
Yes.
There's a chapter in the book called, basically what everybody thought of Joe's guarantee. Mm-hmm. And here is what Matt Snell first told me about what he thought of the guarantee.
I've read 3 or 4 different things about what different guys thought about Joe's guarantee. What did you think about Joe's guarantee?
Well, to tell you the honest truth, I didn't think it put any more pressure on us than we already had. See, I was with the Jets prior to Joe getting there, and I knew what vast improvements we had made. And Joe was the last piece to come around that sort of put everything together. And once he fell down and took the position serious, studying instead of worrying about everybody worrying about what woman he was going to see or how much scotch he was drinking, and he started to study a little bit. Joe really wasn't the kind of guy, as I told people down here, Joe didn't lead by example. Joe took the position, I'll do my thing, if you do your thing, and we both do our thing again, we'll win the game.
Yeah.
So he wasn't a Johnny Unitas. He didn't rah, and give speeches and all that. That was his thing. That's the way he operated, So once and as I said, he had that conversation with Walt Michaels, where he was told, don't let the rest of the team help you. Don't think you got to do everything on your own. And, stop throwing interceptions, and so once he took it seriously, and we told Joe, let's get the running game going. Booth and I we're gonna take this game over. Let's get the running game going. You just manage the game. And Joe didn't throw for a whole lot of yardage, but he didn't throw any interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the key to the victory. Because as I told you, I was in the game with both Joe and Snell, and both of them, we threw 5 interceptions like it's nothing. And because he was hanging out all types of all night long with the Sonny. Sonny was partly the fault. He'd hang out with Sonny and come dragging in and sweat out the liquor and alcohol in the sauna and all that kind of stuff. And he had settled down and he was taking it serious. So I didn't mind the guarantee. I didn't think it. I thought it was almost like a distraction to Baltimore. Because they had to look at that, and then, they were kind of overpressed and over-tried. Who shut these young punks' mouths up, We're the old established league, and these guys know how they guarantee victory. This young punk, so. But it didn't make me, hey, what's the worst thing is you've been wrong?
Yeah. Well, it's
pressure was on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I talked to 6 Bills in the last week, and I asked all of them, what do you think was going to happen in the Super Bowl? Well, 4 of the 6 said the Jets were going to win. And I said, why? Well, because of Joe. And Billy Shaw said to me, I think Joe did the smartest thing that he ever could have done by guaranteeing the win. I said, really? He said, yeah, he put all the pressure on himself. I mean, everybody knew how good Joe was, and everybody knew how confident he was and how brash he was. And he really was putting all the pressure on himself and taking it off everybody else. And I repeated that to John Schmidt, and Schmidt couldn't stop laughing. He said, Bob, you said you watch the game the next time it's on TV and watch the first 6 or 10 plays that were on offense. He said, I got killed. They hit me with everything that they had to try to get to Joe. We're on offense. He said, I got killed. They hit me with everything that they had to try to get to Joe. He said, I was on my back so much the first 4 or 5 plays. He said they were so mad. Is that what you saw too very early in the game?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, they were, as I said, all the pressure was on them. We had these young startup leagues and this young folks talking about they guaranteed victory and all this. They were going to hand us our heads, and they were going to do it right away. They wanted to put us down and out right from the start.
Yeah.
So, it did put any extra pressure on me. How much harder can you hit me? And I'm sure John Smith would go the same way. I mean, our whole job was to keep Joe from getting hit.
Yeah.
So, so if he put extra pressure, they were still trying to get to him. So we had to fight harder, but that's okay.
Man, it's interesting, Bob, coming off that clip, and you hear Matt Snell. So again, Joe Namath makes a guarantee. Matt Snell's reacting to it many years later and saying, like, I didn't think it put any more pressure on us. How much harder are they going to hit us and things of that nature? And I hear that at first. I'm like, come on, how did it not put more pressure? But then just when you really marinate on it, and you told the story of another player and his reaction to it, it reminds me in a much different way. But when Rex Ryan came here to the Jets and he talked all his crazy chatter at the podium, the thing I always thought is that was great because it took all the pressure off the players and everyone was paying attention to Rex Ryan and his blustering and everything that came with it. And from Rex, many years later, he has always said that was intentional. He wanted to take the pressure off his players. And everyone, look at me. Our team's going to go to work and not have to worry about it, and they could get the right things done. So interesting perspective from Snell there.
There's some other things in there that I should really clarify.
Please.
Because it's interesting. You heard Matt talk about Joe and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes reference, and there's no doubt that there was some antagonism among the Jet players against Joe because there was a different set of rules for Joe until the Super Bowl season. And that's when Werblin had to sell his part of the team, and Joe lost, his biggest benefactor, who would just basically put down the rules, even for Weeb, and say, Joe's a superstar. The rules are different for him than anybody else. So Matt makes reference to Joe womanizing and drinking and showing up at the ballpark and having to get all the alcohol out of his system and basically not taking the game seriously. Mm-hmm. And then something happened. And basically what happened was Werblin sold the team and Weeb took more control and pulled in the reins on Namath to a degree. And also a lot of the players, as I've talked about in recent weeks, basically started to confront him, some very seriously and some more in a jocular fashion. And so you heard Matt talk about
yes.
The real difference here was that Joe finally became a leader. And in the Super Bowl season at the beginning, during preseason, as in every year, the team designates captains, an offensive captain, a defensive captain, and a special teams captain.
Sure.
And there was a clear request from the Jets coaching staff to elect Joe the captain of the offense, to try to impress him on the need to be a leader and not just one of the guys, but to actually use his talent, in the most positive and forceful way that he possibly could. And Philbin and a bunch of the other players told me they got that from Walt Michaels. He told them to vote for Joe as offensive captain. So they kind of bit their lip and did that. And Joe didn't know about what was going on behind the scenes. And so it actually made him even more serious about leadership, because he thought, hey, these guys really think I'm great and I'm a leader, never knowing that the fix was in. So you heard that as part of that clip as well.
Well, let me ask you real quick. If Joe never has that coming to God moment of both teammates approaching him, again, to your point, either jokingly or seriously, coaches, everyone getting involved, and then that leadership fix to put him in the position where he ultimately seizes it, did the Jets still win the Super Bowl if that never happens?
I don't think they ever get to the Super Bowl.
Okay, there you go. Wow.
Because Joe, for all his talent, and everybody knows that on teams today, you have to have everybody pulling together in the same direction.
Yes.
And there were stories about Joe showing up drunk before a game. In fact, one time so drunk before a game and so late in getting to the park that we had the second and third string quarterbacks warming up, and he had already designated that one of them was going to start. Wow. And Joe said, no, I can play. And so they let him play. And I don't know exactly what happened that day in that game.
Sure, right.
But that's how bad it was. And so, it was a completely different Joe Namath in 68, 69. The next year, Matt told me, Joe backed off a little bit and he started to once again become the playboy and that sort of thing. And he thinks that was one of the reasons Joe didn't have quite as good a season the next year. I don't know if that's the case, obviously, but
yes,
very strong feelings. He claims there's no antagonism between him and Namath. It's just that, he wanted to win, and he knew from all the team orientation that he had at Ohio State that you had to be pulling in the same direction.
Which makes a lot of sense. And also, you heard Matt Snell reference that Joe Namath didn't throw for a lot. Here is the box score from Super Bowl III. Joe Namath was 17 of 28, 206 passing yards, no passing touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked twice for a loss of 11 yards, and his longest pass of the day was a 39-yarder with an 83.3 rating. That is the stats of which Snell was referencing, not specifically.
Leave it up there for a second.
Sure.
There were no interceptions, but Baltimore dropped two clear ones.
Which, doesn't, and it's so funny, that line that paints the story. That happens all the time in the NFL of guys dropping interceptions. And if they Joe Namath being whatever that would have been, it still would have been incompletions, but it would have added to the interception total. That changes the perception of that box score. Even though the box score doesn't look sexy as is, that could have looked a lot worse there, Bob.
Well, and on top of that, Namath threw long to Maynard, and Maynard beat the deep Baltimore zone, which nobody in the NFL had done that year. But Maynard was playing with a pulled muscle in his leg that he had been caring for 2 weeks, and they had used him sparingly in practice. And the ball just fell off his fingertips, and he came back to the sidelines afterwards and said, "Joe, I'm really sorry. If I was fully healthy, I would have caught it." But he said to another player that I interviewed, "I can't do that again. I won't be able to run at full speed like that again." And yet, Don Maynard became the biggest decoy in Super Bowl history that day, because Baltimore changed its defense, shifted everything to the Maynard side of the field to make sure that he didn't have a completion and didn't beat them deep. And what happened? George Sauer went to town.
Yeah. And look at that. So there is the Joe Namath box score that came in here. I'll squeeze this one in real quick. J-Boy, thank you so much for another membership here. You're now tied with for Life in our raffle contest. Thank you for sending that along. And this has been really revealing. This has been great to hear, again, some of these Matt Snell clips. Again, this has been a special presentation for the 200-plus people that are joining us live. Like the video, hit subscribe. Again, as Bob Lederer was putting his wonderful book, which you can see right here on the screen, being put together, he interviewed, as he said, 75 to 100 people for this story, including Matt Snell. And some of this footage you're hearing and audio you're hearing is never before heard audio outside of Bob and Matt Snell, who were participating in the interview. So this is a really special treat. We want to thank Bob again for making this happen. So yeah, Bob, let's continue on this Matt Snell journey here.
Okay, now the next one I called Protecting Namath After the Guarantee. There is a bit of overlap here from what you already heard, but there's a reason for it because Matt goes into more detail jumping off that. So in context, it'll make it make sense.
Okay, here we go.
I repeated that to John Schmidt, and Schmidt couldn't stop laughing. He said, Bob, you said you watch the game the next time it's on TV and watch the first 6 or 10 plays that were on offense. He said, I got killed. They hit me with everything that they had to try to get to Joe. He said, I was on my back so much the first 4 or 5 plays. He said they were so mad. Is that what you saw too very early in the game?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they were, as I said, all the pressure was on them. We had these young startup league and this young folks talking about they guaranteed victory and all this. They were going to hand us our heads, and they were going to do it right away. They wanted to put us down and out right from the start.
Yeah.
So, it did put any extra pressure on me. How much harder can you hit? And I'm sure John Smith would go the same way. I mean, our whole job was to keep Joe from getting hit.
Yeah.
So, so if he put extra pressure, they were still trying to get to him. So that means we had to fight harder, but that's okay.
Yeah, but Schmidt told me that part of, I guess you can call it the game plan or whatever, was you guys anticipating 2 things from their defense. First of all, bulk blitzing and Mike Curtis blitzing.
Right.
And Schmidt said that Mike Curtis came in, I don't know how early in the game, and blitzed, and you went head-to-head with him and knocked him on his rear end. And Schmidt said, and Matt looked over at him as Curtis was on his back and said, all day long.
Well, I know in that place, we figured we had to set the tempo.
Yeah.
That's why I told you that's why Booz and I made this pact that we were going to do our thing. And I know I think I told you I think it was the very first play, we had said all along, we're not trying to run wide on these guys. We're going to run right at them and all this. So we finally get the ball, and the first play, Joe checked off to a sweep. And I look at Booz, and that means I'm running the ball, so I have to move over. I'm behind Joe, and also he checked off to the sweep left. I got to move over to the right. I look at Booz, Booz look at me, but then we go Booz right there. He just blasted Curtis, and on the weak side. And Rick Bolt come up to hit me, and my knee caught it to the head.
Yeah.
And, he was down and out for a little while. And back then, they didn't worry about concussions. But anyway, he was down and out. And I came back now. I said, hey, these guys run for stuff. All day. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's the example in the tempo, the very first play.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
There you go. Matt Snell on protecting Joe Namath after that guarantee, because I imagine he painted a big fat target on his back.
And the big point there that you don't see today are the running backs staying in to help block for the quarterback on his passing plays. Mm-hmm. And Matt Snell and Emerson Boozer and Bill Mathis, who was the halfback / third running back, a third down specialist really, were so adept at pass blocking. And they also became so adept at run blocking. That day, Boozer blocked for Snell all day long, and that's why Matt had, between what Winston Hill and Bob Talamini were doing on the left side, what Dave Herman and Randy Rasmussen were doing on the right side, with lead blocks from Boozer, gave Snell so many openings, and that's why he ran for 121 yards, which to that point in time was a Super Bowl record.
Absolutely beautiful. And Jay Boy, thanks again. You continue to shower the chat with your memberships. Thank you to Jay Grow. Thank you for outside for a lead in Raffle Leader ticket so far this month, Jay Boy. So thank you for your support. Appreciate it. That's another good one. All right, let's keep going here. Again, we're hearing all of these never before heard clips on Matt Snell and his conversation with the legendary Jets historian Bob Lederer, baby. All right, Bob, where does the train go?
I'll tell you what we're gonna go next, but let me set it up for you.
Yes,
we're gonna go next to Matt talking about how Bubba Smith never got over losing Super Bowl III. Going into Super Bowl III, Bubba Smith, who was 6'7" and 285 pounds, was considered a behemoth.
Yeah.
Nobody could block him. He was a giant. Now, today, he'd be kind of an ordinary sized defensive lineman. Maybe not height-wise, but certainly bulk and everything else. And he was very quick. And Dave Herman, who had been playing right guard the entire year, except for the Heidi Bowl game, where he came in relief of Sam Walton, who was getting killed by Ike Lassiter. That afternoon, in frustration, we moved Dave Herman in the middle of the game from right guard to right tackle, and he played Lassiter, who was a defensive end. So Herman was playing out of position at right tackle. In the championship game against Oakland, we did it again. And again, Herman played Lassiter. Lassiter was way bigger than Dave Herman. Dave Herman was about 6'3", and he weighed about 245 or 250 pounds.
Oh my God.
And Lassiter was about a 275 pound, really giant guy too. And he loved to be mean and vicious, like the other defensive end on Oakland, Ben Davidson, famously. In the Super Bowl, again, everybody knew Herman was going to play right tackle. The Jets didn't have any other option. And here was this David and Goliath situation with Bubba Smith. Herman had a unique ability to just block like hell. And what everybody said was Herman would just hit you in the numbers. And that would keep you at bay. Bubba had one sack that day. And after the game, Bubba was crestfallen. He could not believe that the Jets had won. And that continued on for a couple of years after the Super Bowl. And in fact, in those days, there was a very famous Miller Lite beer campaign in which it extolled its lower number of calories. Thank you for that, Paul. And also that it was less filling. And these were revolutionary marketing tactics in the beer business. And Miller Lite really went to town with it. So Matt became the first spokesman, or among the first, for Miller Lite. And this is a print ad that was done with Matt. Back when I was in high school, I could have used a less filling beer on weekdays. I carried 21 credits on weekends. I carried defensive tackles, linebackers, and weak, strong safeties. Okay. And Matt also did a commercial. You have the commercial.
Yes. Yeah. We'll present that right now. Yes. So
then we'll get back to Bubba.
Yes. Here we go. Here is that commercial. Let me make sure that we're all set here. And yes, here we go.
New light beer from Miller. Everything you've always wanted in a beer. And less filling. Because it has less carbohydrates and 1/3 less calories than a regular beer. I didn't drink all this beer by myself. I had a little help from my friend. But imagine a great tasting beer that's less filling. And at 6'3", 230, there's a lot of me to fill.
Come on.
New Lite. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
There you go.
Now, I tried to find a very famous commercial that Matt did with Bubba Smith. And I actually couldn't find it. But Matt did talk to me about he and Bubba Smith filming that commercial.
Wow. Unbelievable. Okay. Are you, I'll try to see if I could find that on the side, but are you ready for this Bubba quote? Let's go.
Something about Bubba, and he's in his obituary. The guy who wrote it in the Baltimore newspaper said that Bubba never got over losing that Super Bowl game, even when the Colts won 2 years later. He still, to the day he died, he was upset that they had lost to the Jets.
Well, I was the first I did the first light beer commercial for Miller back in 1974. And the third one, I did the first and the second, and the third was with Bubba Smith.
Yeah.
And Bubba still wasn't over losing that Super Bowl. And what I used to do is tease him, and I would always bring, whenever I would be around Bubba, I'd bring my ring and ask him if he'd want to borrow it. Like I tell you, when Johnny and the Simpsons and Beverly, they said they took it over the head. Is this what you're looking for? So I always made a point to bring my Super Bowl ring, and I would say to Bubba, you want to borrow it? And Bubba never, he died, like you said. We did that, and we did a little Lite beer commercial, and he would sit, when we were in between takes, and he would be talking, we still should have lost that game, and I used to say to him, Bubba, it's over and done with. You can buy my Super Bowl ring whenever you want.
Great stuff.
That is. And real quick, I've also seen this again, because last night I knew we were going to be doing the special Matt Snell presentation. We have one more clip left, guys, and it's incredibly compelling because I see a bunch of people, and Bob, I would venture to guess not just some of the people asking, that people outside of the show that may listen or watch at some point, they're either unaware that there is a beef between Matt Snell and the Jets, and if they are aware of it, they don't know the reason for it. So that'll be an enlightening clip coming up here in just a second. But just one more on Bubba. Bubba apparently thinks or thought that there was a fix in the Super Bowl, that like, hey, there was something going on here. Do you remember anything of that, Bob?
Oh, yeah. So did Mike Curtis. Mike Curtis was the NFL Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year that year.
Yeah.
He had been a ferocious blitzing linebacker, and nobody was able to corral him. Mm-hmm. And he also, for many years, believed and said so publicly that the fix was in. And he said, I'm trying to figure out how they did it, but the fix was definitely in. And,
I just got to say, Matt Snell offering him, hey, you can wear the ring. You can wear the ring.
Anytime you want. Here, you can even play with it if you want. and which is funny, doubly funny, because Baltimore won the Super Bowl a couple of years after.
Yeah, right. I think it was Super Bowl 5, right.
So Bubba got his ring there, but he just never got over, losing the first one.
Hey, they say the athletes, while they champion their wins, they never forget the losses. So, that one's certainly in the picture here. All right, I see we have this. Thank you, Old Yank. Another one coming through. Thank you very kindly. We appreciate all this love coming through. Those 5 new members, by the way, to the Boy Green Coffee Club are as follows. I'll share that actually here in just a moment. Yes, here they are. Duncan Lloyd, Michael Palermo, Nate, Don Reck, and Maze Cornson, all getting memberships to Boy Green Coffee Club. Appreciate it, and thank you for sending those along. All right, and I will update the leaderboard here in a second, Old Yank, so thank you for sending that in. All right, Bob, we have one last clip to play, and we teased it at the beginning of the show, this beef that has existed between Matt Snell and the New York Jets for a very long time, it appears here, Bob.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, newspapermen all over New York City every year knock on Matt's door and say, Matt, why are you mad at the Jets? Why won't you play ball with them? And that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And when I met with the Jets about my book in 2017,
right?
Before. Yeah, right. Before the book came out, but I gave them basically a sample. There's a preprint that's done of these books before they're published, and you look for mistakes, and a lot of people just send them out anyway to friends to take a look at.
Yeah.
And I showed them, and I said, hey, there is even an explanation there as to why Matt's mad at you. And the VP said, oh, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. And I said, listen, I can help you, I think, to get him to show up to the 50th anniversary. Don't worry about it. We don't need any help. We don't need your help and that sort of thing. And I walked away pretty annoyed.
Sure, I could imagine.
He wasn't even willing to listen. And I think that is, as you will hear, as Matt explains, the crux of the problem with the relationship that has been broken. And that is the Jets don't care enough to try to really find out what's going on or to fix it. And clearly when the book came out, they knew what the problem was. And they still didn't fix it. And in fact, when we're done with this final clip in which Matt explains why he's mad and continues to be mad, I said something to him which I will relate after we listen to this clip, but pay special attention to Matt's demeanor. He's not angry. He's not snarling. He's just kind of matter-of-factly saying, I just don't think they treated me very well. And so what do I have to give to them? Go ahead.
And folks, just real quick, this is a longer clip, but again, this is a very special show with a presentation. I think it's important to include context, so I appreciate you guys staying with us. And this is the last clip. Here we go.
Any regrets about your Jets career?
I have a lot of regrets. As I said, there was a lot of people in the Jet organization that they didn't like the fact that I was Sonny. They didn't like the fact that I was a local guy. I don't think they liked the idea that I was a black guy, and I don't think that they liked the idea that I was a friend. That Sonny and I were friends first, and I think somewhere along the way that whole perspective got twisted. And a lot of people, when Sonny ended up either selling out or bought out or forced out or whatever it was, I was one of the last ones to know. And a lot of people that was left with the organization saw it as an opportunity to get back at me. Because, Sonny, they couldn't say anything bad about me around Sonny without him taking up for me.
Yeah.
And when they saw a chance to get back at me, man, they jumped on it. And that's why I don't get along with the organization now.
Yeah, I've been extremely conscious, and I don't want to, because I think we've developed a wonderful relationship, and I don't want to hurt it in any way by even going there if you don't want to go there.
No,
why?
There's nothing to hide.
They
why? Know what they did.
Okay.
And maybe I shouldn't hold a grudge. Maybe most people say it's been long over. No, it's not. If you knew the whole story, you wouldn't say, well, maybe it's been too long and isn't that holding a grudge too long?
Yeah.
No, that has nothing to do with it. It's what was given to you and what you're capable of getting over. And I understand one thing.
Yeah.
And when everything happened to me, I was still in my 20s, with the organization. And as I said, one of the things that happened was Sonny came into the locker room after the Super Bowl, and he came over to me and he gave me a big hug, and he said, all he could say was, we did it. We did it. Now, he forgot all the things that he promised me. I didn't even know he sold to me. Now, again, he didn't have to tell me what he was doing, but he had told me a lot of other things, and he lived up to those things. And one of the things he promised me was that there will always be a position. If we win a championship, he said, I got a 5-year plan. If we win a championship, you got a position with the team for life. But he didn't tell me he sold the team or had been forced out or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I didn't know he had gone. And then, as I said, when I went looking for what was promised to me, the people that he told me it was going to be the word, they didn't know what he was talking about. Now, he was gone.
Yeah.
And I guess he figured he didn't want to get back into that. And, so I was the one left. Hometown boy was supposed to make good.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't happen that way. Nobody wants to remember, maybe Sonny was the culprit. I don't know, but let's put it this way. After the Super Bowl, Joe was named the most valuable player. I really didn't care. Okay? As I said, Sonny came into the locker room and he said, he said to me, we did it. Matt, we did it.
Yeah.
Now, 2 weeks later, I get a call from a company over in Jersey, Brogan Cadillac.
Yeah.
I never heard of them, and I said, I told you. They told me they had something for me. I don't even know who you are. Who are you?
Yeah.
Well, we got something. Come over here. I said, okay, I'll get over there in the next, week or two. No, you got to do this now. I said, okay, tomorrow. So I called, I had to get a friend of mine. I'll go over there. This thing brought me a 1969 Cadillac. It was mint green, the same color as the Jet uniform.
Yeah.
And the guy said to me, this is from Sonny Worthington to you. He thinks you were the MVP. So, he did stuff like that when he didn't have to do it. Okay?
Yeah.
Back when I first signed the contract, people said to me, what made you go with the Jets over the Giants when the money was about the same? I said, well, first of all, the money wasn't the same, but okay, let's say we are. First of all, I said, I only want a 1-year contract. The Giants insisted on giving me a 3-year contract. I told them the same thing I told Sonny the Jets. If I can't play, I don't want to be there. And after I signed my contract with the Jets, Sonny called me up and said, we were talking about something. He said to me, what are you driving? I said, what do you mean driving? 2 size 11s. I said, I don't have a car. I said, he said, well, what kind? I want to send you something. He sent me a 64 Ford Thunderbird with that hardtop convertible, one of the first ones out. I mean, he did stuff like that. But maybe I'm thinking later on, maybe he thought that was sufficient. Maybe he didn't tell anybody anyway. But I find it hard to believe. But because he did things all down through my career that I never asked for. I didn't bleed the man dry.
Yeah, no,
but,
and
we won the championship. We won the Super Bowl before the Giants won the Super Bowl. Now the Giants won some NFL championships prior to because we didn't exist.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that we won the 3rd Super Bowl that ever was, and look what it's grown to.
Yeah.
You would have thought a local guy like myself with the team. I went to the Jets in 1974. When the economy went in the tank. Remember the energy crisis in 74?
Yep.
We all woke up with lines around the corner at gas stations. The whole thing went south.
Yep.
Recession, I guess we call it.
Yep.
Well, I went to the Jets. I got out of the ball in 72. In 74, when the recession hit, I said, okay, there was no jobs. There's nothing to be done to be had. I went to the Jets seeking a position. They wouldn't even give me a letter of recommendation. We don't do that because it reflects badly on the corporation, on the organization.
This is when Mr. Hess owned the team, right?
Yeah. I said, and I look at it this way, you mean to tell me how many players have you ever seen that former players that worked for the Jets? The only one I know is Clyde Washington, who ended up dying back in, but he's the only player I know, former Jets player that worked for the organization. But here it is, you got Sonny, you got Hess, you got Gugard. At that time, he had hundreds of gas stations all over the place in the energy business, and they said they wouldn't even write me a letter of recommendation to another. I had a job offer for another company, and I needed a letter of reference. They wouldn't even give me that.
There's a lot going on there, Bob. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things here. Matt Snell is 83 years old. He turns 84 in 10 days, so happy early birthday to Matt Snell. And the 2 people you saw on the screen in the visual as you and Matt Snell were talking were Leon Hess and Sonny Warblin. Leon Hess died May 7th, 1999. Warblin died November 21st, 1991, 8 years earlier. So essentially, the person who lasted the longest, Hess, in all of this that we're talking about, died 26 years ago. I just feel like it's long overdue to correct a wrong. And one of my biggest pet peeves on the planet, Bob, and it comes around this time of year every year, is people posthumously being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That hurts my soul so much that we'll see a news alert in January, February, whatever it is. A very famous sports athlete, and in my world, I'm talking pro football, they pass away, and then the committee goes, we should probably get that guy in. And a couple of months later, they get inducted. That's the worst thing in the world. So long story short, the thing I'm championing after hearing this, Bob, is it's not too late. Matt Snell breathes the same air in this universe that we breathe right now. He's 83. He turns 84 in 10 days. We need to fix this.
And he lives about 20 miles from.
Hey, I want to look it up in the yellow pages if that's still a thing, and I want to go see Matt Snell myself and say, what do we need to do? I'll petition. I'll stand outside the Jets facilities. I'll hold signs. What do we need to do to make this happen? This just seems like an absolute no-brainer for one of the absolute legends of the New York Jets and this organization to be cool. I don't want him to pass away, and this will forever be left out in the ethos. That would be awful.
Well, I said to Matt 2 things after he said that to me. I didn't want to put that on the tape because what I say doesn't really matter. But the first thing I said was, you know what? I can see why you're mad, and I'd be mad too.
Yes, I can totally understand. Based on that explanation of being promised a job for life and then selling the team and not informing him, or however that ended up happening, of not being in the control of that moment, and thus the promise isn't kept in the new world. Like I could understand how Snell could be upset with that.
Well, but the other thing was, I thought about this a couple of days ago as I was just looking over this again. These days there are legal restrictions as to what you can tell a potential employer about someone that has worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's limited now to, did they work here? Yes. How long did they work here? And what positions did they hold? And that's it. That's today, because it has become illegal to say, well, he doesn't really work hard all the time, or he takes too long a lunch hour, that sort of thing. That's verboten. You just can't do that anymore. But back then, and I'd have to look it up and see if any kind of restrictions were coming in. But and I believe it was Leon Hess who was really heading the organization. There was still a syndicate with most of the same people that Sonny had put together back in 1963. But Sonny was out of it now. So you had Leon Hess and a couple of the other former owners. And I think you had the daughter of Townsend Martin, who was on the board. And somebody had to be running the organization. And I don't know if it was Leon Hess, but it sounded from what Matt says about, we have a policy and we don't do things like that. That sounds very corporate.
Right. The letter of recommendation, right? So on top of not giving him the job for life, he didn't give him the letter of recommendation so he could go seek the job on his own that he had an opportunity for.
Or even a reference.
Well, right. Exactly. Right. Yes. Of course.
That he, and not that there should be any doubt that at that point in time, only a handful of years after the Super Bowl, there weren't probably a lot of people who didn't know who Matt Snell was.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course.
But regardless.
Sure.
So I said to him, I can understand why you'd be upset. And I said to Matt, if I were Mr. Johnson right now, I would drive up in my Cadillac outside your house. I'd get out, I'd knock on the door, and I would say, Matt, I'm not leaving till you open the door.
Yeah, yeah.
When he opened the door, I would, if I were Mr. Johnson, I would say, I don't care what it takes for us to get past this. So just tell me, what do you want from us that will put this in the rearview mirror? So we want you to be part of the family.
Of course.
And saying that, Matt said to me, what family? His attitude was, what have the Jets done, for their former players? Now, I'm sorry, my historian part things with my 73-year-old brain is hitting me right now. Obviously, who was the player that almost died on the field?
That's Dennis Byrd.
Yeah, Dennis Byrd. And they did a lot to help Dennis Byrd.
Of course.
But I don't, and maybe they're just not very public about it. But I haven't heard very much, with other players. And yet, and I'm not a Giants fan, and I couldn't really quote, but the Giants have an image of being a real family. The Maras have made it a point to try to hold everybody together, no matter what era you played for them. And I don't believe, and I love the Jets, and they're my team, and they always will be, but I don't believe the Jets have that kind of an image, whether it exists or not.
Right, perception-wise, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's what I thought after having listened to Matt, explain to me. And again, he's very nonchalant in his explanation. There's not a tinge of anger there.
Although the one tinge, the one thing it's interesting that he had the awareness to sort of have an out of body experience for a second. So that's a long clip, but in the clip about halfway through, he goes, you know what, maybe, and I'm going to mess up the wording here of I should have written it down, but basically he said, maybe I shouldn't be holding a grudge. Maybe it should be over. Like he took this moment to say it, but then he reiterated why he believes that he still feels that way. But he took a moment to say, I know some people are going to be like, hey, Matt, not just on the Jet side, but on your side, Matt, what are we talking about here? The ownership is different. This is a brand new ownership group that's now like, can we let bygones be bygones? Is there a way to do it? And he said, if you knew the full story, obviously he told you that that's not just something in his mind, that he's willing to let bygones be bygones and let's just go without there being some meeting of something to try to fix what is clearly broken.
Correct.
So,
and there you have it, folks.
Yeah, I do want to say real quick, because I know some people may not be aware of Matt Snell and more aware of it. Like Taylor here says, BG, let's get this man in the Ring of Honor yesterday. As a matter of fact, he was inducted to the Ring of Honor 10 years ago. That was part of that anniversary special that you're talking about there, Bob, where they honored the team in that way. But this was a separate honor, obviously. He was not present for it. He didn't have to be. You can induct people into the Ring of Honor, whether they're there or not, and they did. And so if you go into the Jets facilities, I've been in several times. I did a Jets documentary. I was in crutches in the time, but I'm crutching across the practice field, and you can see it. It's up on the wall. The Ring of Honor, a picture of the player, and the time that they spent with the organization is highlighted on a big banner. And Matt Snell is on that wall. I've seen it. So being in the Ring of Honor is not the problem here. He is in the Ring of Honor. But just, again, he should be championed. He should be at these celebration events, these anniversaries you talking about here, Bob. They do autograph signings. They do all kinds of things where they bring in, and there's, again, I don't know what the current relationship is with everybody. I can't speak to that. But this just feels like something that we need to try to fix now. And, Bob, I'm hearing a few people in the comment section saying that you should start a movie. Here's NC Green. You should, we'll get his signatures, all we need. There's a bunch of Jets content creators. We've been confirmed. When we were at the Hall of Fame in 2023, I believe it was Jake Asma was the one that ran into Woody Johnson. I think he was the one who ran into him. I just missed him. I went somewhere else while I was at the Hall of Fame ceremonies. And, they sort of confirmed that they watch our shows, that they pay attention to these Jet content creator, Jets WWE virtual universe. So we do shows here. And so they at least listen. I don't know if they're going to listen and then do an act, but if they at least watch these shows, we can make them hear this conversation, not just on this show, but hopefully many other Jets content creator shows, to see if we can start this movement.
We talked last week a little bit about Jake, and if you have any pull with Jake, I'd love to just play that clip again on Jake's show.
Sure.
And maybe, as you say, it'd be great to start a movement.
Okay.
My attitude, my feeling was, when I offered to help them, their attitude was, who the hell is this guy? In
terms of you, I guess they're talking about.
Yeah, right? but when the book came out, when the book first came out, and I was invited on one of the fan shows, and they invited me because they said, your book says you talked to Matt Snell. How did you talk to Matt Snell? Because Matt Snell, as I said, wasn't talking to anybody.
Sure, right.
And so I just think it's attitude, and I think the prevailing feeling with the Jets management, and it could easily change, was, hey, we weren't the management then. We didn't make any promises. We are not responsible for how he feels. But I said this a couple of weeks ago right here, when you buy this franchise, whether it's Woody Johnson or, it's Paul and me as a conglomerate buying it, you take on the responsibility, and you take on the history of the franchise, and you get the good and the bad. And why they don't want to do something about this, I don't understand. The goodwill that it would provide to everybody, even to those who don't know what's going on, and maybe especially to those people who don't know what has gone on. You would think there'd be an outpouring of, wow, that's great for the Jets, for these guys who had nothing to do with this 60 years ago, to say, enough is enough. Matt, we want you in the family. We need you in the family. And I told Matt, the one time I actually met him, we had a dinner in Manhattan, and I said, Matt, I'd like you to come to the 50th anniversary. And I'm not speaking for the Jets. I have nothing to do with the Jets. And we were standing outside in the rain, and I said, the reason I want you to come is you deserve to hear 78,000 people
1,000%
cheering you. This could be, the last time that you have that opportunity, and you just so deserve it, because you helped the Jets make the history that day that changed the course, of the entire National Football League.
Yes. And also I saw that I heard this comment as well. NC Green brings it up. Matt's also intimated there could have been a racial element as well to it. So yeah, we need to remedy it all. And that's just something I would love to help. What I will definitely do, and folks, if you are watching the show, wherever you're watching the show, at some point today, I'm going to clip that 7-minute clip, just about, give or take, Matt Snell airing his grievances with the New York Jets. And I'm going to post that in its full entirety on YouTube as a separate clip. I'm going to be putting it on Twitter. I'm going to be putting it on Facebook. I'm going to be putting it on Instagram. I'm going to be putting it on every app that I possibly can. And I am going to tag the New York Jets. I'm going to scream to the New York Jets. And I want to do my part. And it's just a small part for me, but it's about the people. It's about sharing this. It's about getting this in the Jets' face so that they're forced to do something. I've had moments where I've done silly things, Bob. Here in town, we have a famous sub shop that SUNY Oswego is where I went to school. And there's a bunch of famous alum, Al Roker, Steve Levy, and all these famous people went to the school down the road. And at this sub shop, they give they give names of things to the subs. Oh, they have an Al Roker sandwich. They have a Steve Levy sandwich, who at one point was the former voice of Monday Night Football. And I saw that one famous person from the school didn't have a sub. And I'm like, what's going on? Linda Cohn, who's the longest reigning SportsCenter anchor of all time. I'm like, why does she have a sub? That doesn't make any sense. And then so I was able to get a movement going, and we got Linda Cohn a sub. So if I was able to get Linda Cohn a sub, wherever you are, Linda, I hope you're still enjoying that sub. Maybe my next mission in life, the next thing they could put on the gravestone, is trying to do something here for Matt Snell. But we need
wouldn't it be great, Paul, if doing something like that? And first of all, you should encourage everybody to repost.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's up to the people to spread the word. Yes.
Yeah. And without just promoting me, I think you're going to have to include my name if you want to have more.
Of course I am. Yes.
This.
Yeah.
But on top of that, if we could really get this to be something that, the local sports, talk shows can pick up, that ESPN would love to have stuff like this, because it gives them something to talk about, and that sort of thing.
And we could cycle back to the book. Wink. So it's all full circle.
Harper Collins, are you listening?
So we're going to do our part to do that. So, folks, if you see that on any social media, if you're on any other social media beyond YouTube, obviously like this video and subscribe, and that will get the interview flowing. It already worked, Bob, because apparently I guess a lot of people aren't talking about Matt Snell. Last night, I was Googling, trying to find more information on Snell and everything for our conversation today, and I Googled it. Do you want to know the first thing that came up on Google of Matt Snell? Are a preview of our interview today on the internet. That was the top thing. And we hadn't even done the show yet. So last night, the number one thing on Google for Matt Snell was this show, but it hadn't even started yet. It was just a YouTube link. Hey, this show's going to be on tomorrow. But that just goes to show you that the conversation needs to explode, and it only explodes with the people. That's how viral things happen. So we'll definitely be attempting to do our part. So if you are on any other social media, I'll be putting that clip everywhere, and let's see if we could get it in the right hands. And to your point, Bob, I'll try to make a few calls to my media friends to see if we can start spreading it.
Send the clip that you put together with the pictures and everything.
Of course.
And I can do the same and try to spread it as well.
And let's see what we can do. Here's what we will do. I'm actually doing a live event today, so we could take calls for like 20 minutes or so if you guys have questions or anything you'd like to ask Bob about the Snell conversation or anything else on your mind. Maybe you want to get into, you've had enough of that and you want to do Jets, Packers, preseason, whatever you'd like. We could take calls for 20 minutes, and then I got to go do a live event. We're going to be kissing babies, signing autographs out there, and spreading the good word. So, folks, quick timeout. We'll be back.
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Talking Jets football, man. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. New York Jets Football Club. Offense, defense, special teams. Watch Jets football with Boy Green. J-E-T-S. Jets. Let's go.
And you guys can call in. That is youtube.com/boygreen25. If you'd like to call into the show, if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, you guys can hop on over to that and feel free to take advantage. And I agree with the comment that came up earlier. It's an easy fix. Think about this if you're Woody Johnson. You mend a broken fence you get all the credit and everything in the world. Look at Woody Johnson fixing this long broken fence that he didn't even cause, but look at him fixing it anyway. And he would be championed in the streets by people. There'd be all kinds of great PR pieces out there that the relationship has been mended and put back together. It's an easy PR win. It's an easy thing for the New York Jets to do it. And obviously massively important to Matt Snell, who hopefully the relation, it's not too late. He's alive and that this relationship can be mended or fixed. That's certainly what we're hoping for. So like I said, we'll take phone. Yeah, go ahead.
My wife always tells me not to interrupt you, but Paul, I got to know.
Sure.
How did the Syracuse Mets make out last night?
They won emphatically last night. So, hey, the Syracuse Mets.
Did one of the kids pitch?
Yes. Oh my God, his name's going to escape me. I may butcher it because it's definitely not Tidwell. Oh, Brandon Sproats. That's the name. He's a young firecracker of a pitcher that they're really excited about. Phenom. Absolutely. And this Syracuse Mets are in first place in the entire minor league baseball in the second half of their season. So,
okay,
let's get Syracuse-y.
Huh? Back to Jets football.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you to the 300 people in the room. Appreciate you again. We'll take your call for about 20 minutes before I got to go do a live event and our show. I will be doing a live event and another show talking fantasy football here in a little bit. So we will do that. Let's go to the phone lines. Hep first. What's up, Hep?
Hey, guys. Hey, Bob. Hey, Paul. Hey, fellas. Quick, because I got people coming in. First of all, no. He had his spleen busted for the New York Jets.
Oh yeah.
He all of a sudden he goes, I got hit. I feel something warm in my body. He goes, that was his spleen busted.
That was
come on, man.
That was the blood flowing inside his body that nobody.
You guys still there? Okay, there you go.
Yeah. We got you, Hep. We heard you. Yeah.
This is how I think I would fix. I would go. Does Matt have any grandchildren?
I believe he does. Yeah.
All right. The Jets offer one of his grandkids a job in the organization. Well, even if it's just polishing footballs, whatever it is.
Right.
And he brings them in. Opening day, they bring the middle of the field with their AG, and they say it's about time we bring this son home to the Jets. And AG says and that the place would blow up.
I agree. It's a great call.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
You bought the book and you've read the book. What does the impact of actually hearing an audio of the interviews that I incorporated and made the book? What
today with the Mets now? Yeah.
Well, I hear the man's voice and I hear the inflections, and I hear he's hurt. The guy's hurt, and it's sad, I mean, he's towards the end of his life, and I like to see this wrong done right.
And Hep, let me follow up on what Bob is also saying beyond everything that you just said. Those are all very important pieces. Would it be of interest to you or other Jet fans if you're able to hear from other Jets in the book, obviously, that still remain with us or not, that are because Bob, all of these conversations, as Bob started off the show with, which I love, he recorded all of the audio of these interviews, and thus there could be second life here of an audio version of the book with their voices. Is that something that you would listen to?
Yeah, well, the thing is that when I finished the book, I was sad because I was like, I wasn't hanging out with my friends anymore in the book, When I read
now this could be a way to bring it back up. Okay.
Yeah. So when hearing the voices would be even better.
Thank you for that marketing approach.
Okay. Again, I think it's there, Bob. I think there's second life here, both with what could happen with hopefully what we can turn around with Matt Snell could give life to the book, but also an audio version. I think that would be terrific. There's a lot of people agreeing, saying that would be great. That would be awesome. So thank you guys for the continued comments there. All right, let's keep going on the phone line train. It's a Friday. Your Philly Noodles has arrived.
There he is.
Hello. What's going on, gentlemen?
Hello, I like the lettuce upstairs. Very nice. I like what you did with your hair today.
Crazy, man. Nice. Just waking up, rolling out of bed. It's not like Bob. Bob's got a look. Look at that look.
That's true.
Look at the stern.
Very coiffed. Very coiffed.
I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but it seems like Bob Lederer was the first person to get Matt Snell on an interview in a book.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It wasn't.
I champion that, man.
One of the shows I tried to go on promotionally to help promote the book, And they said, "Can you get Matt to talk to us?" And I said, "Well, I'll try." And Matt begged out and said, "No, I don't want to go public. I don't want to talk to anybody. They can read the book and they can see exactly what I think." But there was a real keen interest even then from one guy in particular said he would not allow me on the show. He would not promote the book in any way unless if I got Matt Snell to come on.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
I'm sad and sorry that happened. But I would say this. I don't know if you've explained this, and if you have before, Bob, it might be worth revisiting to what Philly Noodles just said. Okay, no one was able to successfully talk to Matt Snell, but Bob Lederer did. So besides your handsome charm, what was the thing that got him over the top, that got him to talk to you where he refused to talk to everyone else?
I think the same thing that got me in very good stead with almost all the players. And that, number one, I was not a sports writer. I was not looking for dirt. I was not looking for salacious stories, although I got several of them that didn't go in the book. But I told them I was a 16-year-old fan when you won the Super Bowl on January the 12th, 1969. And it so impacted me as a fan. And you were one of the guys on that team. And I've never forgotten the names of the 40-some-odd players who played for the Jets that year, even the guys who hardly ever got on the field, because, hey, you did something that nobody has ever done since. And I could hear it as I was talking to people like Matt. I went over all of the Matt Snell material over last weekend. Mm-hmm. It encompassed, 4 hours, like 2 hours at a time in 2 different interviews. And we could have done more. And I decided I got enough material, for the book, because there was limitations on how big they would allow the book to be. I think I've indicated the book was 640 pages at one point, and they said, you got to get it down to 380. So anyway, they all understood that I knew who they were. I respected who they were. And they were my heroes. And so as I talked to them, and I told this story about Billy Joe, because I think this is the best example. Billy Joe, I called up, he lives in Alabama, and he said, I'll give you 1 hour. He had no idea who the hell I was. He was really standoffish. We talked, and in the 59th minute, I said, Billy, I've only got 30 seconds left.
Oh, yeah, he let you go for another hour.
Yeah, and he said, I'll talk to you as long as you want. I said, really? He said, you clearly know what you're talking about. You remember me and the other members of this team, and you really know how special that season was. And I said, yeah. And he said, shoot, we'll go as long as you want. And we did several other interviews, and I actually had conversations with him over the years.
Hey, a couple other things real quick. I definitely think an audio would be fire, because hearing all those different people, it tells a story, like a giant story.
Well, and on top of that, a lot of them have passed on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So this could give them new life in a way to hear their voices, right?
Maybe it's on the 60th anniversary, which is only 3 years away. Maybe it's time to re-release.
You can re-release
work on that.
That's correct. What was my other comment? Oh, like and subscribe, of course.
Yes.
You're on the road to 8K, right? We're getting there.
That's right. Yeah. Let's see what we're at right now at this very moment and second in time. We are at, let me see, beep, boop, bop, beep, boop, bop, beep, boop, bop. We're at 7,854. So we are 146 away from 8,000.
And I like what Het brought up. That would be the most fire thing that could happen. That would be dope as hell. That they get onto the field and Aaron Glenn's like, and gentlemen, I want to show you a legend. And then he just runs on the field and he just tackles somebody or something.
Oh, yeah. That would be great. And also, someone asked earlier, they said, does Matt Snell like burgers? Sure. The invite is now open for the tailgate if he has any interest, I guess. I don't know if we're going to get him there first, but obviously, Jets Cowboys tailgate, feel free. We'll be there. Yeah.
Make Matt an unofficial co-captain, for, the first game or one of the games during the season.
Let's do it.
And he should have been the MVP of that Super Bowl. And I'll leave it at that.
No, that's for sure.
That's what I think. Personally.
Philly, have a good weekend.
Yes, sir. You too.
Thanks, pal. There you go. Philly Noodles, all reliable every Friday. Come in here on the program. Appreciate it. Again, you heard it from Philly. We're 146 subscribers away from 8,000. So spread the word, baby, on the show. We'd love to have you. All right, let's go to one of your other favorites, Bob. Man with a Jets tattoo is back. What's up, brother?
Hey, Boy Green. Hey, Bob. How you doing? Bob, the content you put out there it touches my heart, being a Jet fan for as long as I've been. And I want to make one announcement that I want to make directly to Woody Johnson. Woody, most Jet fans can't stand you. If you want to get into their good graces, you hire Bob Lederer. Get him in the building and let him show you what it is to love a fan. So you call Bob, you get him in the building, whatever you have to do, you do it for the Jets and you do it for the fans. That's it.
Can I relate a story to you you'll find interesting? When I was starting to put together the book and wanted to reach, like I couldn't find Philbin. I called up the Jets and they put me into the Alumni Association. Great. Talked to the woman who was the head. She said, who are you? I told her who I was. I'm not sure we want you to talk to Jerry Philbin. And I went, what? Well, we like to really tightly control these kind of things. And I said, you realize you don't have any control at all over who I speak to for a book that you have nothing to do with. I mean, you'd like to be part of the book. I'd love to have your help. And she said, it got back to me in a couple of days. Sorry, we can't share you his contact information. We just don't think it's appropriate. And I went, what kind of nonsense is this?
Yeah, right.
I want to write a book about the Super Bowl Jets team, and I'm having a little trouble getting to Philbin. I talked to like 25 or 30 other guys already.
Yeah.
And you won't.
You know, Bob, there may be a little envy there on Woody Johnson's part because he did not win that Super Bowl. He bought the team after, and they have not been successful. And, you know, these billionaires that own these teams, a lot of them, it's a business. It's a toy. You know, it builds up their ego. But I will say that I think that a lot of former Jet players are not recognized enough in this organization. I mean, a lot of them. A lot of the stuff I have, jerseys and autographs and things like that, you know, when's the last time Wesley Walker was in the building? When's the last time Mo Lewis was in the building? You don't hear these guys' names anymore. And it's kind of sad, you know? It's kind of sad. All we talk about now is the present, and that's fine. But don't forget about the history.
The cool thing I will say that I liked, and this was obviously AG inspired, is this past week he had a bunch of his teammates from the 90s and 2000s of his Jets tenure, because he was drafted in 94 and he left, I think it was right before the expansion draft in 2002. So he was there for that 8-year period. And so he brought all of his teammates back to the facilities and they did interviews and stuff. So it was super cool to see all them. So that was obviously a clear tip of the cap from AG to go back to the past. That was nice to see.
Boy Green, before I go, let me have your email address again, please.
Yes, sure. So here it is, and I'll give it to everybody because I know there's a lot of ways people want to reach out. So it's my first name, my middle initial, my last name, and then the letters jr@gmail.com. So that's Paul, Paul, A the letter, ESDEN, jr@gmail.com.
Okay. Because I spoke to you last week about that, and I couldn't remember it.
No,
all right, thanks a lot, guys. I'll let somebody else call.
I appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Bob.
Thank you so much. So, Bob, as we're sort of closing up shop here on the show, again, we will be resharing that 7-minute clip. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to everybody. You guys will all see it on every social media possible. I will try to use whatever pull and social media influence I have to get that out as far as possible out there in the universe. And every connection I have, I'll try to go to other media people to see if we could get Bob on a media tour to even talk to more people if he'd like, or to just for them themselves to explore more of this Matt Snell story, for it to be written about, for it to be spoken about, for it to be talked about. You know, as much as I love myself, and boy, do I love Boy Green and love hearing the sound of my own voice, obviously. But I shouldn't Google Matt Snell and the top thing that comes up is me talking about Matt Snell before the interview even happened. That was immediately the number one trending thing on Google for Matt Snell. We need more things to be trending about Matt Snell. That's what's going to turn the conversation. So again, as much as I love seeing myself, and I do, we need to see more of the Matt Snell conversation that comes from the people. The more we talk about it, the more the Jets are going to hear about it. And I think that's how we unlock it here. But Bob, as we're wrapping up here, anything else on this Matt Snell thing you wanted to put a bow on or talk about or highlight in any way?
Well, it's, hey, let's get this thing fixed. No matter how it has to get done, let's get it fixed. And I don't think it's that difficult to do if you really put your mind to it. If you're the management of the New York Jets, why would you want this to continue? Now, it's not been talked about, at least for the last 5 years.
Definitely.
But after it was made public in my book, what was the crux of this situation? Why wouldn't they want to have fixed it? I just don't get it at all. Maybe they would have been helping me to sell some books. So whoopity do what?
Yeah.
And I thought that was part of it too, because I don't know what it was about the book. I'll tell you what my wife thought.
Okay, sure.
My wife said to me, your book got deep sixed by Joe. Because Joe didn't like the title of the book.
And you're talking about Joe Namath.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was clear. And he never read the book. And I think that really was a big part of it. Beyond Broadway Joe. Well, Joe is the first and only guy that people go to today when they want to talk about Super Bowl III. And Joe is in really good health, and a lot of the guys on the Jets are getting really, really on the long side.
Mm-hmm.
So he might be the last straw there, when everything is said and done. But Matt Snell was at least the co-hero, the co-MVP of Super Bowl III. And the fact that he is faded like the rest of the team, which is why I wrote the book.
Yeah.
Faded into the dustbin of history. Nobody, if you ask the average Jet fan today who doesn't, watch this show, but just goes to the game, Matt Snell was? And they go, And they might even see his name on the Ring of Honor and say, oh, who was he? Why is he up there? Was he on that Super Bowl team or something? And that's a shame.
There may even be some people, if I'm going to do this, we're going to go to a Jets-Cowboys game, and I'm going to be with 60 people. It's not going to be any of my people. They're going to know because they watch the show. I'm going to ask random Jet fans, hey, do you know who Matt Snell is? They're going to be like, oh, is he on the team? Like right now? And I'll be like, no, he's not. That's probably some of the response I'm going to get.
His nephew played for the
Steelers.
Or the Steelers. Yeah.
Yes. So that was a cool part of the draft story when it was coming out, and that's a cool, neat story. So, again, hoping we can change this conversation, and we'll end with some really good news here. I saw this come in earlier, but I didn't want to get distracted. We have this coming in, so we get a wow.
Wow.
Mr. Famous Fulton has been a member of the show for 6 months. Thank you. He has an audition coming up for American Idol this Saturday. So the Jets and Packers are going to be smacking each other around at night. And then also Mr. Famous Fulton is going to be auditioning for American Idol. So good luck, Mr. Fulton. That's amazing news. And thank you to J-Boy and Old Yank for supporting the show with a bunch of memberships today. Really appreciate it as well. So everybody, a special show. Again, I want to give you another shout out, Bob, because you being so open, you didn't have to open the vault. You didn't have to share these in this way. And a lot of the fans got a great kick out of it. And so did I going through this. I am such a massive, history fan of the game of football and obviously of our New York Jets. And so the Bob thanks are coming in from everybody, which I appreciate, guys. Thank you so much for sending that in for Bob. That to me is amazing.
Paul, gentleman's bet. I'll take the Jets in 2.5 tomorrow night.
There you go, baby. Boom. The good juices are flowing clearly here on the program. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Again, you will catch me in a little bit in a new location outside live for a fantasy football interview. And then I'll be doing a live event at a local store here where you guys can stop by if you're local and meet me and meet and greet and doing that sort of thing. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Bob, I love doing this every week. And by the next time we talk, we'll have preseason football to talk about.
Great. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you. All right, Bob, I